Datto. This is going to be a really, I can't wait. I think you're in for a treat from Datto. They're doing a demonstration of their product and what it does. How many of you, I know we talked with the lights, how many of you are using a Datto device or think you might be using a Datto device? Okay, so this, you haven't seen anything like this demo that they're going to talk about today. So I've got Alex Dwyer. He's the sales manager for us as a partner. And he'll probably do a quick introduction, and then we'll get started. Thank you all.
Cool. I'm Alex. How you guys doing this morning? I said, how you guys doing this morning? All right. I've always wanted to do something like that, so that's nice. So my name's Alex. I'm a channel manager here at Datto. So really privileged for Jeff to have us out here. As a technology service provider, managed services provider, you're really tasked with a lot of duties, right? You always get yelled at. But one of the things you have to do is find best of breed products because you don't want to have to be fixing this stuff a lot. And so, they really leaned on us for the business continuity piece. So when you think about backing up, everybody's got USBs, they've done backup, but when you got a business, you got to take it a little bit more seriously. So we got business continuity solutions here, and we're going to play a little commercial for you.
Disaster. Deleting important files, the latest ransomware, attacks, freaks, no results, birthday celebrations, water damage. Downtime can ruin your business. Datto, your system is protected and restored in a matter of seconds. Scary. Datto, keeping your business running, no matter what happens.
So that's it. I mean, that's what we do. We do business continuity, so making sure you guys are always up and running. There's a lot of attacks out there like ransomware, CryptoLocker. Dean's going to give you a lot of really good stories. But we got a giveaway, so at the end of this presentation, we got this. We went all out. We got one of these JBL speakers. For one of you guys in the audience to get. But that's it. So I think we got a technical demo at 1 o'clock. So we're actually going to go through the software, so you guys can see that if you're interested to see how some of this stuff works in the background. So without further ado, I got Dean Reed. He's one of my solutions engineers. Dean's got a great story. He's from Brooklyn and grew up, from kind of modest beginnings, and now he lives in a big house where you can get lost in. So he's going to be a motivational speaker. So here's some practice. So without further ado, Dean Reed.
All right. Thank you. All right, so I'd like to start off with a quote by Benjamin Franklin, which says that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Now, I want you to think about your data for just a minute, and I want you to ask yourself, do you have a plan if something were to happen to your data? Now, I'm not just talking about natural disasters, and natural disasters are something you're definitely going to want to think about, but I'm talking about hackers getting into your networks, or even the most common disasters of them all, which is actually human error. Now, when we look at the numbers, fires, floods, and tornadoes, that's only about 7% of the actual disasters that we actually see at that. What we find is that 93% of most disasters is from human error. It's from someone opening up an email attachment or going on a website that they probably shouldn't have gone on. That's what we see, and as long as you are accessing the internet, you are susceptible to these kind of disasters. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you would agree that if you lost any of your critical business data, that would be detrimental to your business? Now, if we can agree that would be detrimental to your business, as I'm going along to this presentation, I want you to use what I'm educating you on as a litmus test to see if you're on par with your disaster recovery plan. So who are we? We are a $1 billion backup and disaster recovery company that most people in this room have never heard of. So we were founded back in 2007 by our founder and CEO, and his name is Austin McCord. And he founded Datto in his parents' basement. He was only 22 years old, just coming out of college. He literally built his first devices using Lego pieces, and he was $80,000 in debt, but he had a dream. You fast forward 8 years later, and he was named Forbes 30 for under 30. The gentleman who wrote the article said he's considered to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, which he really hates and he gets embarrassed, but that's the kind of visionary that we actually work for. Now, when I started at Datto, we had one location. That was in Norwalk, Connecticut, just 45 minutes outside of New York City. So now when I look at this, we see that we have 35 global locations. We're also in 198 countries, and what I'm most proud of is we're protecting over 500,000 small to medium businesses just like yourselves. So to sum Datto up like this, we are backup plus disaster recovery equals business continuity. So we're going to focus in on business continuity, but before we talk about business continuity, we need to define what's not continuity. And what's not continuity is having a cloud-only backup. So a cloud-only backup gives you one point of failure. Now what happens if you need to access your data and the internet's down? Or what happens if you're in a spotty area where your bandwidth is not that great? It's going to be very frustrating to try to get your data back. A local-only backup. So a local-only backup is a piece of hardware, right? You can back up to a PC, a server, a flash drive, or an external hard drive. That's great and all, but what happens when that hardware dies? We know hardware is going to die, and when the hardware dies, your data is going to die with it. So again, not continuity. Oops. File-based backup. In my opinion, a file-based backup is a consumer-grade backup. If you want to back up, your photos or your memories, it's great to use a file-based backup. But business continuity, file-based backup is not going to work. And the reason being is, let's say your server goes down, it crashes, you get ransomware, you get a virus, or even if someone spilled coffee on it, right? You have to rebuild that server, that takes hours, and then we have to take each file and we have to incrementally drop it to your server. That's going to be planned downtime, and the more downtime you have, the more money you are losing. So we talked about what it's not. Now let's talk about what continuity is. And what continuity is, it must be a hybrid cloud-based backup. So what is a hybrid cloud-based backup? That's having a backup locally on the device as well as having data in the cloud. So in our case, we have 2 data centers. So you have 3 points of failure. We have 1 on the local appliance, and you also have 2 in our data centers. And it must have an image-based backup. So this is completely opposite of a file-based backup, right? So a file-based backup, again, is 1 file at a time. With an image-based backup, we're taking a snapshot of everything. That's going to be the operating system, all your files, folders, and all your critical applications. So when we have to restore back that system, we're going to restore it back in its entirety as opposed to doing 1 file at a time. And it must deliver superior RPO and RTO. So I hate acronyms, but I couldn't fit it on this page. So RPO stands for recovery point objective, and RTO stands for recovery time objective. So recovery point objective says, how much data are you willing to lose? Are you willing to lose a quarter of your data? Are you willing to lose half of your data? And recovery time objective says, how much time are you willing to lose? How long are you willing to sit around while your employees do nothing while you're waiting for your systems to get up and running? And to have a continuity solution, it must eliminate downtime. If it takes 4 to 5 hours for you to get up and running, then you don't have a continuity solution, and that's something you're going to have to look into. Virtualization. So this is the secret sauce to everything that Datto does. So if anyone's not familiar with virtualization is, as I said, we're doing an image-based backup. So we're backing your system up right to this box here in its entirety. So if your server were to go down, we can spin up your workloads on this device and get you back to work immediately. And we do this faster than anyone on the planet. So I'm a visual person, so let's give you a visual. So this is a system. If I was to pull out my phone right now and I was to take a picture of this, what would I get? I would get an exact replica, an exact copy. And that's what an image-based backup does. So when we have to restore the system, again, we're restoring everything in its entirety. That's the smart way to do business continuity. Instant virtualization, okay? So a system, something happens to your system. Maybe you get ransomware, maybe you get a virus, maybe the server just dies. But because we're backing you up on our box, we can actually spin up your system right back. And we can do this in as little as 6 seconds. So again, we're keeping your business going. It's business continuity and also business continuance. Now, again, you can't have a business continuity solution if you don't have disaster recovery. So, you guys have seen what happened in Houston and Harvey and all of these hurricanes. We see all these floods and fires. Disaster recovery is something you're definitely going to want to have. Now, if something like that were to happen to you guys, maybe something gets on fire or your business is underwater, how are we going to get you back up and running? Well, what we're going to do is this represents a server, right? You can have more than one server, obviously. That server goes down, maybe it's underwater, maybe it's burned. Even the Datto device is down. So what do? Because we have all of your data in our 2 bi-coastal data centers, you can go anywhere in the world, right? You can go Starbucks, a home office, the next town over, and we can spin up your workloads from wherever you're at. So again, it's all about business continuity. So we have 2 data centers, right? One in Reading, Pennsylvania, and the other one's in Salt Lake City, Utah. And they both replicate to each other. So if one coast goes down, we're going to have all your data in our secondary coast. So that's really how we're set up from a disaster recovery standpoint. And we're also protecting over 400 petabytes of data in our clouds. Now, I remember the first time I heard a petabyte, I said it sounds like a lot, but I couldn't quantify it, so I promise I won't leave you hanging. I did some research. So 1 petabyte of data is equivalent to listening to 2,000 years of MP3s continuously and never listening to the same song twice. And we're protecting over 400 plus petabytes of data. So a lot of our clients and partners are entrusting Datto with protecting their data. And this is something that we really, really take seriously. So how many people here have heard of ransomware? If you haven't heard of ransomware, right, you must be living under a rock, right? Ransomware is a worldwide epidemic. If you go to Google right now and you type in ransomware, you're going to find someone or company that's been infected just today. Now, when a business owner starts their business, they get liability insurance, they get property insurance, they get workers' compensation insurance, but they don't have business continuity insurance to protect them from data loss. So let me see if I can put this in perspective for you guys. Now, how many people here have children? Well, I have 4. I have 3 boys and a girl. I have a 22-year-old son, and I know I don't look old enough to have a 22-year-old. I have 8-year-old identical twin boys, and I also have a baby girl who is the newest addition to our family. Now, don't get me wrong, I love all my children exactly the same. But I remember before I had a daughter, and other fathers would say to me, you know, Dean, when you have a daughter, it just feels different. And I never really understood what that meant, so I finally experienced it for myself. So when my daughter was born, and the midwife handed me my daughter for the very first time, I remember looking at her face and looking at her little eyes, and I remember saying to myself, I would do anything in this world to protect her. And that's the way a business owner feels about their business. It's their baby, and they want to protect their baby. So let me tell you some stories of some businesses that didn't protect their baby. So the first story we're going to talk to you about is the San Francisco MTA. They got hacked for $73,000. So they nobody could ride the road, nobody could pay for the bus or the rail system. So if you read here, they said they're going to restore from their backup. And remember, we're going to talk the difference between backup and business continuity. And these stories are going to prove why business continuity is needed so much. So the San Francisco MTA put out a statement, and they said he never intended to pay the ransom. You know, they said they have their technology team in place, and they're going to restore all their backups. So let's see how this story unfolds. So their network was down for 2 days, and I bet you no one in this room will ever guess which 2 days they were. It was a Thursday and Friday after Thanksgiving, which is Black Friday weekend, the biggest shopping holiday weekend of the year. These guys really know when to hit it. Now, if you look at it, I went to the San Francisco MTA's website and I did some research. So on a normal day, they give about 735,000 rides. So we have to figure Black Friday weekend, it's going to be a little bit more. But we're going to use 735,000 as a baseline. So at $2.50 per rider, they lost in excess of almost $2+ million. Now, this is huge right here. Now, if they had a Datto solution, they would have never paid a $73,000 ransom, they would have never gave out fares for free, and they would have never lost over $2 million. Now, the hackers are wondering why they haven't called and they haven't tried to pay the ransom. That's because they didn't need to, because they have a Datto solution in place. This clicker is working. Now, if anyone sees this and you don't have a Datto solution in place, I promise you, you're about to have a bad day. Now, ransomware, there's really thousands of strands of ransomware, and they all do different things. They have a ransomware that's like a time bomb. And what that means is you can click on an email, and ransomware is sitting on your system. It's dormant. You have no idea that it's there. And then what they'll do is the hackers will write some malicious code and say, on January 1st, 2019, let's infect your system. So you can literally be sitting with ransomware this whole time. January 1st hits, and now your whole network is encrypted. That's what they're doing. But this one right here really tests your morality. They call this one the popcorn ransomware. So what they say is you can restore your files the easy way, or you can restore your files the nasty way. So the easy way is paying the ransom and praying that you get your data back. Now the nasty way is if you send this link to 2 or more people and they pay the ransom, then they're going to decrypt your files for free. It's kind of like a coupon for ransomware. Now, can you imagine being a business owner who's struggling and you receive this email? You know, what will you do with that? You know, will you send this to 2 more people? You know, you would say you would want to. I would probably do it, but you don't want to put yourself in that position. And these guys aren't ethical. They really don't care. So how do we mitigate ransomware? Well, we have something called ransomware detection. So after every backup, we scan that backup at least 3 times to see if there's any signs of ransomware in that backup. And if we see any signs of ransomware, we're immediately going to generate an email, and we're going to forward it over to United Systems and their team. So we want them to be proactive rather than reactive. Not only are we going to send them an email where it says ransomware has been suspected, but we're also going to show them each recovery point where it's been suspected. So they know exactly which recovery point to remove, and they can go back to the last known good backup to get you up and running very, very, very quickly. So the city of Atlanta, they got hit for a $52,000 ransom. Now, what's crazy about this is you think that the city of Atlanta would have had some type of business continuity solution in place, but they really didn't. And the crazy thing is they lost over $2 million trying to come back from that ransomware. And if you read here, officials are still filling out forms by hand. Now, how many people in here remember filling out forms by hand? I mean, when's the last time you've done that? It's been a very, very long time. I mean, I have another story with my sister. She actually works for a medical company or a medical group. And I'm lazy, so she always sets my doctor's appointments every year. So she calls me a couple months ago and say, you know, hey, our systems are being infected. We have ransomware. Can you help us? I said, I can't help you. You don't even have a Datto solution in place. There's nothing there. They literally went 3 weeks where they were just writing things on paper. Now, can you imagine what they have to pay for HIPAA? Because that's really hurting them. So obviously, I don't go to that doctor anymore because, you know, if they're not protecting my data, you know, they're not protecting anybody else's data, I don't want to mess with that doctor. So obviously, I moved myself to another medical group because they were not protecting my data. So this is very important. So how can Datto and United Systems help? Well, you know, what I've been talking about is our technology. But really what they're going to do is they're going to sit down and have a business conversation with you because everything comes down to dollars and cents. How much money are you losing for downtime? So what this is a recovery time calculator. This kind of calculates how much downtime can cost you. So what United Systems is going to do is they're going to sit with you and they're going to ask you a couple of questions. So questions like, how many hours can your business go without accessing your critical systems or servers? And then over here is how many hours of production time on those servers are you willing to lose? Then it keeps going. How much data are you going to protect? How often do you currently back up these systems? And so on and so forth. And then what's going to happen is we're going to ask the last couple of questions. How many employees will be affected if your critical systems fail? And what is the revenue generated per hour by these employees? Because we don't think about these things, right? We always just think about, you know, how much money we're losing as far as transaction, but we don't really know. If you have ransomware and you're down, you still have to pay your rent, you still have to pay for internet service, you still have to pay for your employees. So all of those things you still have to pay for, right? So this calculates downtime, and what it does is it spits out a number. And in this example, if you were down for 5 hours and 18 minutes, you're going to lose almost $7,900. I mean, again, this is a good way that we can quantify downtime. But there are some times where we actually can't quantify downtime. So what do I mean by that? So I'm going to tell you a story. It's called the coffee story. And it's a story that happened at Datto. So in our infancy, when we were less than 100 employees, our office manager was tasked with getting coffee and office supplies. So our office manager goes to Google and types in coffee and office supplies. The first company that came up, we gave them a call. Ironically, they said, we can't take your payment because our systems are down. If you give us a call back tomorrow, we'll be able to help you out. So how many people in the room think we waited till the next day? What would you do? You'd go down to the next person on the list. We called the next person on the list, they were able to take our money. That was only $5,000. But fast forward to 2018, where we have 1,400 plus employees, and we spend millions and millions of dollars on coffee and office supplies. So if the first company knew how much downtime cost them, they would be sick to their stomach. I promise you they'd be vomiting right now. I don't want that to be you guys. So we have the Datto disaster demo. We are famous for doing disaster demos. So what is a disaster demo? What we'll do is we'll have a presentation that we're running off of a box, and then we'll destroy that box. And then we will actually spin up the presentation on our Datto appliance to show everyone how we can keep business up and running. So what's a disaster demo? Again, a system, we're gonna do something, we're gonna damage it, and then we're gonna spin it up on a Datto device and get you back up and running. So this is James Mason. He is one of our senior sales engineers at Datto, and as you can see here, he's lighting up one of these devices. We are really obsessed with fires. So what he does, he's gonna destroy it, and again, we're gonna spin it up on a Datto device. This is us in California doing the same thing. We've literally gone all around the country and even parts of the world doing this disaster demo. Again, this is what we're known for. We've also tried a couple of other things. We'll find someone in the crowd, maybe someone who's bored, and say, hey, we want you to come up and we want you to destroy the device. So once we get them to destroy it, then we have them burn it. Again, because we're really obsessed with fires. So, tell you a story. So, we were in the UK about 4 or 5 years ago, and Rob Ray, who was our Vice President of Business Development, he told our sales engineer to get extra flash paper because we were just getting our foothold into the UK. And he said, I really want this disaster demo to be great. I want the flames to go really high. So the sales engineer, what's he gonna do? Rob Ray's his boss. So he added more flash paper and he lit it up. And it went, right? And we were in the Marriott. Fire alarms went off. Oh man, and it was horrible. They wouldn't let us out the country unless we actually paid the fine. So in our contracts, we can never do another disaster demo in any Marriott. So that's in our contract. So Rob Ray was really nervous. He said, you know, I got to call Austin, who's the CEO, and I got to tell him that I just lost $8,000. So he calls Austin reluctantly, and he says, Austin, you know, we did this disaster demo. I told the sales engineer to put this flash paper and just make the flames go really high, and we did, and the alarms went off, and the fire department came, and I had to pay $8,000. So it was silent for a minute. And Austin says, so tell me, was it cool? So we work for Millennial, so that's the only thing I can think of. And there's the fire truck right there. So again, they wouldn't let us out the country, but thank God we were able to get out of the UK. So the next thing I'm gonna show you, this is my boss. Displays here. Okay, hold on. Why is this video not playing? See, this is technology for you guys. So you know what? I have this video on this laptop, and I'm just going to show you really quickly because I think it's really important to show you guys. So give me 1 second here. Gotcha. Okay, anytime now. Open up here. I lost. What's going on here? So you know this is real, right? You could do this a million times, I swear, and always something goes wrong when you do it live, I swear.
Might as well just show them. We could just show them.
Yeah, I can't even get the video up. So basically what the video was is we were, let me plug this back in because I want to show you something. Basically what would happen is we had my boss actually call somebody up from the audience because, again, I told you that we've got in trouble with the fires and doing all these disaster demos. So what he did is he had to call someone from the audience, and he had someone take a drill and put the drill into the laptop. But we forgot to take out the lithium-ion battery. And what happens is this thing started smoking in the middle of this plate. We were in a restaurant. I mean, it was really, really bad. So we had to give it to one of the biz dev guys so he can run outside and put the laptop out. But that's part of the disaster. So what I want to show you is I want to show you a real disaster demo, right? Because we talked about the disaster demos. We're not going to put anything on fire because I don't know if we're going to get in trouble in here. But I need a volunteer. I want somebody to come up here and actually destroy the presentation that I have on this box. Do I have any volunteers? If not, I'm going to pick someone out of the crowd to actually destroy this. Any volunteers?
Who's pretty good at using a hammer? Who's pretty handy out there?
You want to come up? Come up.
All right.
All right. All right. So we got to have safety first, so you put on these goggles here.
Oh boy.
And we're going to put on a little jacket here. There you go. Yeah, exactly. There you go. All right. And you can just beat the heck out of it. Just beat the heck out of it, yeah. Ooh. Wow. There you go. That's awesome. So look, we're smashed. So now what do? My presentation was on here. But the cool thing is I have Datto, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to plug this back into here. All right. You can sit down. Thank you very much, everybody. Give them a round of applause. Appreciate that. All right, so we're going to go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the user interface of my device. All right, let me make sure I have my VPN on here so we can connect back. So I have a device, a Cirrus device, which is our device. It's sitting back in my office in Norwalk, and I actually backed this presentation up before I left the office. So you can see here we have the disaster demo. So we're going to go to restore, and then we're going to pull up the presentation. So now we're going to go to disaster. We're going to go to local virtualization, and then we're going to select the recovery point and start the restore. And just watch how quick this is. So now we're going to start VM. So now what we're doing is we're mounting the image of the system onto the Datto appliance, and the Datto appliance is going to take the place of this. So we're going to open it up in the browser. That's going to get bigger in just a second. And now it's going to log me into the interface, into our Windows 7 box, and I'm going to be able to pull up that presentation for you. So this is really what business continuity is at its finest. So I want you to think about your location and think about what happens at your location. Think about if a server goes down. What does that downtime look for you? What is it costing you? If you have something like this, we can have you up immediately. So we're going to sign in. And since we're in Kentucky, I actually have Colonel Sanders as our backdrop, right? So there you go, good old Colonel Sanders. And then here's United Systems presentation that we were just on. We're going to open it up. Go. There's my face. All right, we're going to go all the way down here because it's the last slide. And we're going to end right here. So when I started this presentation, I started off with a quote by Benjamin Franklin that said that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Now, I hope that I convinced you to plan for your disaster recovery. Get with United Systems, get yourself protected. Again, my name is Dean Reed, and thank you guys very much.
It's an awesome job, Dean. Do you guys have the cup so we can do this raffle for this quick little giveaway? We don't want to stop the train and give us a boy, right?
So we do have a...
All right, cool. This one's stuck to me. This person's lucky.
All right, let's see.
Melissa Wood.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
At this time, we're going to do another United Systems gift card for the conference.